The sledgehammer froze mid-swing as the sirens wailed closer. Detective Martinez stepped out of the squad car, his eyes scanning the property line where Marcus stood, covered in sweat and wood dust. But when Karen Whitfield marched toward them, with her phone raised, screaming about illegal construction, the detective's expression shifted. He wasn't looking at Marcus anymore. He was staring at the perfectly legal fence behind him. Then at the woman who'd been terrorizing the neighborhood for months. "Ma'am," Martinez said quietly, "you're under arrest." Karen's face went white as the Marcus Thompson wiped the sweat from his forehead as he surveyed the morning's work. The fence posts stood straight and true along the property line, each one sunk exactly 18 inches deep according to the city specifications. 3 months of planning, 2 weeks of permit applications, and now, finally, progress. "Looking good, Marcus," called out Mrs. Chen from her garden next door, where she was tending to her prized roses. About time someone stood up to that witch, Marcus chuckled, though he kept his voice low. The witch in question lived directly across the street, and her hearing was unfortunately excellent. "Just trying to keep the peace, Mrs. Chen, nothing more than that." But peace was the last thing on Karen Whitfield's mind as she stormed out of her immaculate colonial home, her perfectly coiffed blonde hair bouncing with each angry step. She wore her usual uniform-pressed khakis, a polo shirt that probably cost more than most people's weekly groceries, and an expression that could sour milk. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" she shrieked, her voice carrying across the quiet suburban street like a fire alarm. Marcus straightened up, his 6-foot frame casting a long shadow across the freshly turned earth. He'd been dreading this moment for weeks, but he'd prepared for it too. "Morning, Karen. Just building a fence on my property. All legal and permitted. Legal." Karen's laugh was sharp enough to cut glass. "We'll see about that. This is a historic neighborhood. Thompson. There are rules, regulations. You can't just throw up some trashy fence and ruin everyone's property values." "It's not trashy," Marcus replied calmly, though his jaw tightened. "It's cedar, 6 feet high, with proper spacing between the boards. And I checked, there's no homeowners association here, no historic designation that prevents fencing." Karen's eyes narrowed to slits. "Don't get smart with me. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to block my view of the park." "I'm trying to keep my dog from getting into the street," Marcus said, his patience wearing thin. "Buddy's getting older, and he doesn't see cars like he used to." As if summoned by his name, Buddy, a gentle golden retriever with graying fur. Around his muzzle trotted over and sat beside Marcus, his tail wagging despite the tension in the air. "That much should be put down," Karen snarled. "He's been shitting in my yard for years." "Buddy hasn't been in your yard," Marcus said, his voice dropping to a dangerous level. "He's never been in your yard. And if you talk about my dog like that again, we're going to have a problem." Karen stepped closer, her face flushed with rage. "Are you threatening me? Did everyone hear that? He's threatening me." A few neighbors had emerged from their homes, drawn by the commotion. Marcus recognized most of them the elderly couple. From the corner house, the young mother with twin toddlers, the guy who worked nights and was probably trying to sleep. They all looked tired, like they'd been through this before. "Nobody's threatening anyone," Marcus said, raising his hands. "I'm just building a fence. On my property, with proper permits." "Show me the permits," Karen demanded. Marcus walked to his porch and returned with a folder thick with official documents. He handed over the building permit, signed and stamped by the city's planning department. Karen snatched it from his hands, scanning it with the intensity of a lawyer reviewing a contract. "This is fake," she announced. "Ma'am, I watched him get that permit," called out Harold Peterson from across the street. The retired postal worker had lived in the neighborhood for 30 years. "I was at City Hall the same day for my own business. Saw him talking to Janet in the planning office." Karen whirled around to face Harold. "Nobody asked you? Peterson. Mind your own business. This is my business. When you're out here screaming every morning," Harold shot back, "some of us are trying to enjoy our retirement in peace." "Peace?" Karen laughed bitterly. "There's no peace with people like him moving into the neighborhood. First the fence, then what? A basketball hoop? Loud music? Parties every weekend?" The racist undertone in her words hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Marcus felt his hands clench into fists, but he forced himself to breathe. He'd dealt with people like Karen before in college, at his previous job, in other neighborhoods. The key was not to give them ammunition. "The fence will be finished in 2 days," he said evenly. "Then we'll all have a little more privacy." "Privacy!" Karen's voice rose to a shriek. "You mean so you can do whatever you want without the neighbors watching? I know what you're up to. I've been watching you for months, coming and going at all hours, having strange people over." "Strange people," Marcus interrupted. "You mean my sister, my co-workers, my friends from church." "Church?" Karen scoffed. "Right. I'm calling the cops. This fence is illegal, and I'm going to prove it." She stormed back toward her house, already dialing on her phone. Marcus turned to the growing crowd of neighbors, most of whom looked embarrassed by the display. "I'm sorry about this," he said. "I really am just trying to build a fence for my dog." "Don't apologize," said Mrs. Chen, who had crossed the street to get a better look at the construction. "That woman has been terrorizing this neighborhood for years. Someone needs to stand up to her." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked. The neighbors exchanged glances. Harold Peterson stepped forward, his weathered face grim. "Son, you've been living here for what, 6 months? You seem like a good kid, so I'm going to give you some advice. Karen Whitfield is poison. She's run 3 families out of this neighborhood. In the past 5 years, how false complaints to the city, harassment, frivolous lawsuits. She sued the Garcias because their kid's bike was on the sidewalk. She called animal control on the Johnson's cat every week until they moved. She reported the Millers to the IRS for running a business out of their home. Turned out they were just selling some old furniture on Craigslist." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Why hasn't anyone stopped her? "Hard to prove harassment," Harold said. "She's careful, never crosses the line enough to get arrested. But she makes life hell for anyone she doesn't like. And she doesn't like me because, ... because you're young, successful, and you don't back down," said Mrs. Chen. "She's used to intimidating people. When that doesn't work, she escalates." As if to prove the point, Karen's voice could be heard from her front yard, speaking loudly into her phone. "Yes, officer. I need someone here immediately. My neighbor is building an illegal structure, and when I confronted him about it, he threatened me. Yes, I'll hold." Marcus rubbed his temples, feeling a headache building. He'd worked too hard to get where he was. A good job as a software engineer, a nice house in a decent neighborhood, a chance to build something stable for himself. He wasn't about to let Karen Whitfield ruin it. "What should I do?" he asked. "Document everything," Harold advised. "Every interaction, every complaint she makes. Get security cameras if you can afford them. And whatever you do, don't let her provoke you into doing something stupid." "I won't," Marcus promised. But as he watched Karen pacing back and forth on her perfectly manicured lawn, speaking animatedly into her phone, he wondered if good intentions would be enough. She had the look of someone who wouldn't stop until she got what she wanted. What she wanted, apparently, was him gone. 20 minutes later, a police cruiser pulled up to the curb. Marcus recognized the officer who stepped out, Detective Ray Martinez, a tall Hispanic man with kind eyes and a reputation for fairness. They'd met at a neighborhood barbecue a few months back, and Marcus had been impressed by his approach to community policing. "Afternoon," Marcus Martinez said, tipping his hat. "I understand there's some kind of dispute about a fence." "That's right," Marcus replied, grateful for the detective's calm tone. "I'm building a fence on my property line. All the permits are in order." Martinez nodded and looked at the construction site. The fence was clearly still in progress, with posts set and some boards already attached. "Looks like quality work. Mind if I see the permits?" Marcus handed over the folder again. Martinez examined the documents carefully, checking the property survey against the actual fence line. He even pulled out his phone to call the city planning office, confirming the permit's validity. "Everything looks good to me," he said finally. "Property line is clearly marked, permit is valid, construction meets code requirements. Officer?" Karen's voice cut through the air like a rusty blade. She marched toward them, her face red with indignation. "Are you actually going to let him get away with this, ma'am? I'm Detective Martinez. I understand you called about an illegal fence." "Yes, he's blocking my view of the park. It's going to destroy my property values. And when I tried to talk to him about it, he threatened." Marcus woke to the sound of his car alarm blaring at 3:47 a.m. He stumbled out of bed, grabbed his robe, and rushed to the front window. His Honda Civic sat in the driveway, lights flashing, horn wailing, and completely intact. He hit the remote to silence the alarm, then noticed the motion sensor light in his backyard was on. But he was already at the back door, whining and scratching to get out. Marcus grabbed a flashlight and stepped onto his deck, scanning the yard. The fence construction area looked undisturbed, but something felt wrong. The air was too quiet, like the moment before a storm. "Probably just a raccoon," he muttered, but his gut told him otherwise. The next morning, Marcus discovered what had triggered his unease. 3 of his fence posts had been loosened not enough to fall over, but enough to lean at dangerous angles. The concrete around their bases had been chipped away with something sharp. It was sabotaged, plain and simple. He photographed everything with his phone, then called Detective Martinez. "I'll be right over," Martinez said, his voice grim. "Don't touch anything else." 30 minutes later, the detective stood in Marcus's backyard, examining the damaged posts. "Professional job," he said finally. "Whoever did this knew what they were doing. They used a chisel or a small sledgehammer, worked quietly, and didn't leave any obvious evidence. It had to be Karen," Marcus said. "Who else would do this? Probably. But probably isn't enough for an arrest warrant." "Did your security cameras catch anything?" Marcus felt his stomach sink. "I haven't installed them yet. I was waiting for the fence to be finished." Martinez nodded grimly. "Get them installed today." "And Marcus, this is escalating faster than I expected. Be careful." By noon, Marcus had a security system installed with cameras covering every angle of his property. The technician, a young guy named Jimmy, shook his head as he mounted the final camera. "Never seen someone need this much coverage for a residential install," Jimmy said. "You sure you're not in witness protection or something? Just a difficult neighbor?" Marcus replied. "Must be some neighbor." That evening, Marcus sat on his deck with a beer, watching the sun set behind the half-repaired fence. The damaged posts had been reset in concrete, but the delay would cost him another day of work. He was tired, not just physically, but emotionally. The constant stress of dealing with Karen was wearing him down. His phone buzzed with a text from his sister Lisa. "How's the fence project going?" Instead of texting back, he called her. Lisa Thompson-Williams was 5 years older than Marcus, a successful lawyer in Chicago, and the one person who could always make him feel better about life. "Hey, baby brother," she answered on the first ring. "You sound tired." "I am tired," Marcus admitted. "This neighbor's situation is getting out of hand." He told her about the sabotage, the security cameras, Detective Martinez's warnings. Lisa listened without interrupting, but he could hear her taking notes. She always took notes. When someone was describing a legal problem, "Marcus, you need to file a restraining order," she said when he finished. "This woman is harassing you. I don't have proof it was her." You don't need proof for a restraining order. You need a pattern of behavior that makes you feel threatened. False police reports, property damage, verbal confrontations, that's enough to get a temporary order. Marcus considered this. Won't that just make her angrier? Probably. But it'll also put her on notice that you're not going to be pushed around. And if she violates the order, then you have grounds for criminal charges. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. People like this, they don't stop escalating until someone makes them stop. After hanging up, Marcus sat in the gathering darkness, mulling over his sister's advice. The motion sensors on his new security system were already triggering, recording every car that passed, every cat that wandered through his yard. He felt like he was living in a fortress, and he hated it. At 11:30 p.m., his phone rang. "Detective Martinez, Marcus, I need you to come outside. Don't make any noise, and don't turn on any lights." Marcus's blood ran cold. "What's wrong?" "Just come out quietly." Marcus slipped out his back door, keeping to the shadows. Martinez was waiting by the fence, dressed in dark clothing, and crouched low. "She's in your yard," Martinez whispered. "Been here for about 10 minutes. I was doing a patrol when I saw her sneaking around the side of your house," where Martinez pointed toward the far corner of the property where the new fence met the old chain-link boundary. Marcus could barely make out a dark figure hunched over something, working with small, precise movements. What's she doing? Looks like she's digging, maybe planting something. They watched for another minute as Karen worked frantically at the base of the fence post. Then she stood up, brushed dirt off her hands, and started to creep back toward the street. "Now," Martinez whispered. He stepped out of the shadows and hit Karen with his flashlight beam. She froze like a deer in headlights, her face pale and startled. "Ma'am, you're trespassing on private property," Martinez said calmly. "I need you to step away from the fence and keep your hands visible." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish, gasping for air. I was just ... There was a noise. I thought someone was trying to break into my house by digging in your neighbor's yard." "I wasn't digging. I was looking for evidence." "Evidence of what?" Karen straightened up, some of her usual arrogance returning. "He's been harassing me, watching my house, following me to the store. I have a right to defend myself." Marcus stepped forward. "I've never followed you anywhere. I barely leave my house except for work." "Liar," Karen spat. "You've been stalking me for weeks." Martinez walked over to where Karen had been working. His flashlight revealed a small hole in the soft earth, and next to it, a plastic bag containing what looked like white powder. "Ma'am, what is this?" Martinez asked, pointing to the bag. Karen's face went white. I don't know. That's not mine. You were crouched right over it. I found it. I was going to call the police." Marcus felt a chill of understanding. She was planting it. She was trying to make it look like I'm dealing drugs. "That's ridiculous," Karen said, but her voice was shaking. "I would never, ma'am. I need you to turn around and put your hands behind your back," Martinez said, reaching for his handcuffs. "You can't arrest me. I haven't done anything wrong." "Trespassing, filing false reports, and now attempted evidence tampering. You're under arrest." As Martinez read Karen her rights, Marcus stared at the plastic bag in disbelief. "What is that stuff?" "Looks like baking soda to me," Martinez said grimly. But she probably figured it would take a few days to test, and by then the damage would be done. "Anonymous tip to the police, they find drugs in your yard. Your life gets complicated." Karen was screaming now, her composure completely shattered. "This is a setup. He's the one who should be arrested. He's been terrorizing me for months." "Ma'am, I need you to calm down," Martinez said as he guided her toward his patrol car. "You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it." "I'm not going to be silent. This is harassment. I'm going to sue the city, sue him, sue everyone." The commotion had drawn neighbors from their houses. Marcus could see lights coming on up and down the street, faces peering out from behind curtains. Harold Peterson emerged from his house in a bathrobe, his wife close behind. "What's all the shouting about?" Harold called out. "Karen Whitfield is being arrested for trespassing and evidence tampering," Martinez replied loudly enough for everyone to hear. A cheer went up from the gathered neighbors, actually cheered, like their team had just won the championship. Marcus was startled by the sound. "About damn time," someone called out. "Should have happened years ago," added another voice. As Martinez helped Karen into the back of his patrol car, she turned to glare at Marcus through the window. Her face was twisted with rage and humiliation, and her lips were moving, though he couldn't hear what she was saying. "What happens now?" Marcus asked. "She'll be booked, probably make bail tomorrow," Martinez said. "But this changes everything. We have her on-camera trespassing, we have physical evidence of tampering, and we have multiple witnesses to her harassment campaign. The DA will definitely file charges." "Will she come back?" "Not if she's smart. But smart isn't a word I'd use to describe her behavior tonight." After Martinez left with Karen, the neighbors lingered in the street, talking in excited whispers. Mrs. Chen approached Marcus with a sympathetic smile. "I'm sorry you had to go through all this," she said, "but maybe now we can all have some peace." "I hope so," Marcus replied. Harold Peterson clapped him on the shoulder. "You did good, son," standing up to her. "Most folks just moved away." "I thought about it," Marcus admitted. "But you didn't. That takes courage." As the crowd dispersed and the street returned to normal, Marcus found himself alone in his backyard, staring at the hole where Karen had tried to plant evidence. The maliciousness of it stunned him. She hadn't just wanted to harass him or make him uncomfortable. She'd wanted to destroy his life. He filled in the hole with fresh dirt, then walked over to check on Buddy, who had slept through the entire drama. The old dog opened one eye, tail wagging lazily. "What do you think, boy?" Marcus asked, scratching behind Buddy's ears. "Think. We can finally finish this fence in peace." Buddy's tail wagged harder, and Marcus took that as a yes. But Marcus didn't sleep the rest of the night. He sat by his bedroom window with a baseball bat across his lap, watching the street until dawn broke over the quiet neighborhood, When his phone rang at 6:45 a.m., he nearly jumped out of his skin. "Marcus, it's Detective Martinez. We need to talk." "She called me," Marcus said without preamble. "Around 2:30 this morning. Threatened me? From where? I don't know. Unknown number. But it was definitely her voice." Martinez was quiet for a moment. "That's impossible. She's still in lockup. Won't see the judge until this afternoon." Marcus felt his blood run cold. "Then who called me?" "I don't know, but I'm coming over. Don't go anywhere, and don't answer the door for anyone but me." 20 minutes later, Martinez arrived with a second officer, a young woman with sharp eyes and an all-business attitude. She introduced herself as Officer Sarah Chen, Mrs. Chen's niece, and a specialist in cybercrime. "I pulled the phone records," Officer Chen said, settling into Marcus's kitchen chair with a laptop. The call came from a burner phone, probably bought with cash. But here's the interesting part. The call was made from the cell tower that covers this neighborhood. So someone was close by, Marcus said. Very close. Within a few blocks. Martinez leaned forward. "Marcus, I need to ask you something, and I want you to think carefully before you answer. Has Karen ever mentioned anyone else? A friend? A family member? Someone who might help her?" Marcus tried to remember all their hostile encounters. She mentioned her son once, said he was in college, and that I was ruining his childhood neighborhood. "Did she say where he goes to school?" "No, but—" Marcus paused, thinking Harold Peterson might know. "He's lived here forever. He knows everyone's business." They walked across the street to Harold's house, where the retired postal worker was already tending to his morning coffee on the front porch. His face lit up when he saw them approaching. "Morning, officers. I suppose you're here about Karen's—" "Boy, you know about her son?" Martinez asked. Harold's expression darkened. "Danny Whitfield, 22 years old, dropped out of state after his second DUI. Been living in Karen's basement for the past 6 months. Real piece of work. That—" "1. What do you mean? Anger issues, just like his mother. But where Karen's all passive-aggressive manipulation, Danny's more direct. Got arrested for bar fights, twice that I know of. Karen always bails him out, gets him lawyers, makes excuses." Officer Chen looked up from her laptop. "Danny Whitfield, age 22, arrested for assault and battery in March, charges dropped. Another arrest for public intoxication in January, pleaded down to community service." "That's him," Harold confirmed. "And before you ask, his car isn't in Karen's driveway this morning. White Toyota Camry, probably about 10 years old. License plate starts with BDXI. Remember, because I used to deliver mail to every house on this street." Martinez and Officer Chen exchanged glances. "Harold, did you see anyone around Karen's house last night, after she was arrested?" "Funny you should ask. I was up late with my arthritis, and I could have sworn I saw someone moving around in her backyard around midnight, but I figured it was just shadows." "We need to check her house," Martinez said. "If Danny's been staying there, he might have keys." They walked back to Karen's property, which looked strangely abandoned in the morning light. The perfectly manicured lawn was already showing signs of neglect, and newspapers were piling up on the front steps. "Hello," Martinez called out, knocking on the front door. "Police, we need to speak with Danny Whitfield." No answer. He knocked again. Louder this time. "Danny, this is Detective Martinez. We just want to talk." A curtain twitched in an upstairs window. Then they heard footsteps, fast and heavy, running toward the back of the house. "He's running," Officer Chen said, already moving toward the backyard. They found Danny Whitfield trying to climb over the fence between his mother's yard and the neighbor's property. He was exactly what Marcus had expected. Tall, lanky, with his mother's sharp features and an aura of barely contained violence. "Danny, stop right there," Martinez commanded. "We just want to talk." Danny dropped back into the yard, his hands raised but his eyes defiant. "I didn't do anything wrong. Nobody said you did. But we need to ask you some questions about a phone call made early this morning." "I don't know anything about any phone." Call Officer Chen held up her phone, showing a tracking app. "The call was made from this neighborhood, Danny, from a burner phone." "You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?" Danny's face flushed red. "You can't prove anything." "Actually, we can," Martinez said calmly. "See, burner phones are harder to trace, but they're not impossible. especially when someone's stupid enough to use one from their own neighborhood. I want a lawyer, that's your right. But Danny, before we go down that road, let me ask you something. Do you really want to go to jail for your mother? Because that's where this is heading. Danny's defiance wavered. She's my mom. She's just trying to protect our neighborhood. From what? From people like him. Danny pointed toward Marcus's house. People who don't belong here. The racist implication hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Marcus felt his jaw clench, but Martinez stepped forward before he could respond. Danny, your mother is facing serious charges: trespassing, evidence, tampering, harassment. If you made that threatening phone call, that's another felony. Is that really how you want to help her? I didn't threaten anybody, Danny said, but his voice was shaking. Officer Chen walked over to a garbage can near the back door and lifted the lid. Inside, among the regular trash, was a small cardboard box, the kind that cheap phones came in. Bingo, she said, pulling out the box with a pair of latex gloves. Burner phone purchased yesterday at the Quick Mart on Elm Street. Want to bet we find your fingerprints on this, Danny? Danny's shoulders sagged. Okay, I made the call, but I didn't threaten him. I just, I just wanted him to know we weren't going to back down. What exactly did you say? Martinez asked. I said it wasn't over, that's all. From Mr. Thompson's perspective, that sounded like a threat. Well, it wasn't meant to be. Marcus stepped forward. Danny, look at me. Danny reluctantly met his eyes. I don't want to hurt your mother, Marcus said. I don't want to hurt you. I just want to live in peace. I want to build a fence for my dog and be left alone. Can you understand that? Danny's face crumpled. She's just scared, okay? She's scared the neighborhood is changing, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. She's not evil. She's just what? She's just lost. Ever since Dad died, she's been different, angry, all the time, looking for someone to blame. Martinez softened his tone. When did your father die, Danny? 2 years ago? Heart attack. Mom never got over it. She started fixating on the neighbors, complaining about everything. It got worse after I moved back home. Why did you move back home? Danny looked embarrassed. Lost my job. Got into some trouble. Mom said I could stay until I got back on my feet. But, double quotes, he trailed off. But you never got back on your feet, Officer Chen said gently. It's hard, you know, when everyone thinks you're a screw-up. When your mom is fighting with the whole neighborhood, when you can't afford your own place, or even a decent car, Marcus felt an unexpected pang of sympathy. Danny, I'm not your enemy. I'm not trying to destroy your neighborhood or hurt your family. I just want to belong here. But you're different, Danny said. You're young. You've got a good job. You can afford to fix up your house. Mom sees that, and it reminds her of everything she's lost. That's not my fault. I know that, Danny said quietly. But try telling her that. Martinez stepped in. Danny, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be arrested for making threatening phone calls. But if you cooperate, if you help us understand what's been going on, the prosecutor might be willing to work with you. What do you mean? Community service instead of jail time? Counseling for you and your mother? Maybe some mediation to work out the neighborhood issues. Danny looked at Marcus. Would you be okay with that? Marcus thought about it. The young man in front of him wasn't a criminal mastermind. He was a lost kid trying to protect his mother. If you promise to leave me alone, if you get help for your anger issues, if you convince your mother to do the same, yeah, I could live with that. What about the fence? I'm going to finish building my fence. It's legal, it's necessary, and it's happening. But Danny, once it's done, I'll be happy to be good neighbors. I'll wave when I see you. I'll help shovel snow in the winter. I'll even invite you to barbecues if you want. Danny's eyes filled with tears. You'd do that after everything we've put you through. I'd prefer to be friends than enemies. Martinez nodded approvingly. That's the kind of attitude that builds communities. Danny, are you willing to work with us? Yes, sir. Good. Then let's go have a conversation with your mother. 2 hours later, they sat in the visiting room of the county jail, waiting for Karen to be brought in. Marcus had been hesitant to come, but Martinez had convinced him that seeing Danny might help her understand the consequences of her actions. Karen entered the room in an orange jumpsuit, her perfect hair disheveled, her face pale and drawn. She looked like she'd aged 10 years overnight. "Danny," she said, her voice small and frightened. "What are you doing here?" "Mom, we